Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharacham Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Akhandam Satchidanandam Avang Manasagocharam Atmanamakhilādharam Ashraye Bhishta Siddhaye Arthatopyadvayanandan Ati Tadvaita Bhanatah Gurunaradhya Vedanta Saram Vakshe Yathamati. Hari Om. We had seen the Mangalacharanam shloka of Vedantasara. It is said the two qualifications of a guru, instead of saying qualification, two attributes of a guru is Shrotriya and Brahmanishta. One who has studied from Guru Parampara and is rooted in this knowledge of non-dual truth. Shrotriya means studied in Parampara. Brahmanishta means his conviction is in Advaita. So both these qualities we can see in the Mangalacharanam that Swami Sadanand Ji is doing over here. The first verse shows his Brahmanishta. He says, in that Atman I take Ashraya. What is the nature of that Atman? He says, Akhandam, Satchidanandam, Avang Manasa Gocharam. Avang Manasa Gocharam means that Atma Tattva which never becomes Drishya. It never becomes an object of knowledge, of speech, eyes, or any other sense organ. That Atma Tattva, in that I take Ashraya. Atmanam Akhiladharam. And this Atma is the substratum of this entire creation. Now, this knowledge cannot come through any other means. This Atma, which is witness of thought, what I might have considered as a limited, finite thing, Upanishads are going to reveal that this Atma Tattva alone is Akhiladharam. That Atma Tattva I am, and in that Atma Tattva I take Ashraya. Ashraye Abhishta Siddhaye. We saw several meanings of Abhishta Siddhi, and each word is actually a meditation pointer. So in our Saturday session, we took this verse for Nididhyasanam. Although this is Mangalacharanam, but the import of it is so deep that one can use it for meditation as long as every word is clear. We cannot meditate on an ambiguous thing. Right? If some word we hear and we don't know what that word means, and if we have doubts about that word, we cannot meditate. So this word akhandam should not remain like any other word. That is why we elaborated on sajatiya, vijatiya, swagata bheda rahita. What does it imply? What does it mean? The application of that knowledge also we discussed. But all of it has to lead back into our conviction in Atma. And the second verse shows that Swami Sadanandji is Shrotriya. He has studied Vedanta from a lineage and the kind of reverence he shows for his teacher. He says, Shabdataha, everybody calls my teacher Swami Advayanandji, but he is Arthataha Advayanandaji also. Arthataha means he revels in that Advaya Ananda. Not only his name is that, but he revels also in the meaning of that name. That is why the second verse he says, to that teacher who is beyond all dualities. Means one who doesn't perceive any duality anymore. But in spite of that, teacher accepted duality to teach. Okay. Guru Naradhya Vedanta Saram Vakshe Yathamati. Then came the subject matter of Vedanta. Okay, that is how the title is given there. But it is just defining what is Vedanta. We might have our own ideas of Vedanta. And we see this also in some statements made by famous personalities, sports person. They say, I'm very efficient in my sport because I study Vedanta. I'm very efficient in my game because I follow Vedanta principle. All of that is good. It's a part of Vedanta that they're appreciating, which is very, very good. But as sadhakas, we should have conviction that Vedanta means pramana. It will give exclusive means of knowledge, or it is an exclusive means of knowledge. And that knowledge which cannot be negated, which will not be negated by any other means of knowledge. And it will be doubtless knowledge. If I know how to use pramana, it will be doubtless knowledge. Such kind of pramana is Vedanta. And what knowledge are we seeking? Knowledge about our own self. What is my true nature? Am I this body? Am I this mind? Or am I something else? Am I a jiva or am I infinite consciousness? Now this truth we cannot decide based on majority. Right? We go around asking people, what do you think? Am I a jiva or am I Brahman? So they will say, I think something is wrong with you right now. Why are you even asking this question? And that is what happens also when we go with majority. We start doubting our own conviction. Mahatmas tell a story of one farmer, was carrying a goat on his shoulder. And other people knew that this farmer is somebody who can be fooled very easily. So there were 5 other people who wanted to get his goat. So they said, let us do a trick. Let us go and tell him that why is he carrying a fox? It can harm him anytime. Why is he carrying a fox? So one by one they come, not together. First person comes and tells the farmer, oh, why are you carrying that goat? Why are you carrying that fox? Don't you know that it can jump on you anytime and pounce on you? That farmer first says, don't tell me what I'm carrying. I know what is it. And then he goes ahead A second person comes, says the same thing. Why are you carrying this fox? Don't you know that it can harm you? Now his strength, the confidence with which he had said the first time, that mellows down. He says, no, this is not a fox, this is a goat. He goes ahead. Like this, one by one people come. And by fourth person, he really starts thinking, maybe this is a fox, who knows? I might have just gotten it by mistake and I am not able to see it in that way. So finally he gives it to the fifth person and says, you take it with you, I don't want it. And then goes by his way. We also end up doing the same thing many a times. Vedanta is telling, I am Brahma. And the world constantly keeps reminding us, you are Jiva. It does not directly say that, but what it says is, all these things which are for this physical body, or all these objects which are also for this physical body, if you don't have it, we will be unhappy. Okay, all advertisements, whatever we look, it keeps reminding us in a very subtle way that you are this physical body. For happiness, you need this Vishaya. On the other hand, Vedanta is telling us, you are Ananda Swarupa. We don't need any Vishaya, we don't need any external thing to be happy. So between this, when there is a conflict, we should remember Vedanta is Pramana. We studied it elaborately in 14 sessions, but the sum and essence of all of that is this. That what Vedanta is telling us, it will not be told to us by any other means. And world predominantly is Pratyaksha Pramana only. To some extent, it is Anumana Pramana. But it is not going to tell us nature of consciousness. So whenever we do Vedanta Shravanam, this thought should be in our mind that I am doing Pramana Vyapara. Means if I want liberation, this is the exclusive means for me to get liberation. What is the exclusive means? Shravanam. Because Shravanam is of Vedanta and Vedanta is Pramana. Just like if I don't use my eyes, there is no way I am going to get knowledge of an object. Color of an object, I cannot know without using my eyes. Means without using Pramana, Prameya is not known. In the same way, without using Upanishad, nature of Brahman is not known. And if knowing the nature of Brahman clearly is liberation, then without Upanishad Pramana, there is no moksha. Now it depends upon how we have defined bondage first. Now this is an elaborate topic of Shastrartha. There might be other schools of thought who have defined bondage in a very different way. So their idea of liberation will be different. But we don't want to go into that discussion now. We assume that we are all Vedanta sadhakas. We have done some mananam, and past texts also we have reflected. So definition of bondage is, ignorance is bondage. Ignorance about my true nature, thinking myself to be somebody else, something else meaning this body, not some other person. Thinking myself to be this mind, that is bondage. And unless I know my nature as Atma and know it clearly, there is no liberation. Okay, that is why this verse becomes important. Vedanto nama Upanishad pramanam tad upakarini shariraka sutra dinicha. So Upanishad mantras, they are pramana. But in order to get more clarity about Upanishad mantra, in order to resolve any doubts that might come while studying Upanishad, so all other Prakarana Granthas, But in particular, here what is mentioned is Brahma Sutra, Shariraka Sutradi. Adi means all bhashya, tikas, everything which is there written on top of the main text, those are also pramana. And Cha refers to Bhagavad Gita and other prakarana granthas. This doubt also can come. Oh, you keep saying Upanishad is pramana, Upanishad is pramana. So Tattva Bodha is not pramana. We say no, technically speaking, Upanishad alone is pramana. Tattva Bodha is secondarily pramana because it is talking about the same idea. It is not an independent composition. Bhajo Govindam, you say, Tattva Bodha or any prakarana grantha, it is not an independent composition from Upanishad. If it is, then it will not be called as pramana. Okay. Now, before we study any text, it is said we should think about 4 aspects of a text. What are those 4 things? We had seen this in Tattva Bodha. First one is called as Adhikari. Who is the fit student for studying that text? Second is called as Vishaya. What is the subject matter of that text? Third is called as Sambandha. What is the relationship between that text and what goal that he is looking for? Between Prameya or Vishaya and that particular text, what is the relationship? And the last one is called as Prayojanam. We'll come to that. The words itself will talk about it. Prayojanam means, why am I doing this? Why do I need to study this text? What is the final goal? What is the final thing that I will get after studying this text? But interestingly, Vedantasara Acharya doesn't elaborate these 4 entities separately for Vedantasara. What he says is, Vedantasara, this text that we are going to study, it is a part of Vedanta only. Because it is part of Vedanta, I need not separately write Anubandha Chatushtaya for Vedantasara. Whatever is Anubandha Chatushtaya of Vedanta, that alone should be applied to Vedantasara. Now, this is a very deep insight. This is true not only for this text. It is true for any text of Vedanta. Okay. If you are studying Tattva Bodha, Anubandha Chatushtaya of Tattva Bodha is the Anubandha Chatushtaya of Vedanta. Okay. So more we will see. Let us read 4th and 5th verse now. Asya Vedanta Prakaranatvat Asya Vedanta Prakaranatvat Tadiyaihi eva Anubandhaihi Tadiyaihi eva Anubandhaihi Tadvatta Siddhehe Tadvatta Siddhehe Nate Pruthag Alochaniyaha Nate Pruthag Alochaniyaha Tatra Anubandho Nama Tatra Anubandho Nama Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojanani Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojanani. Asya means of this Vedantasara. Asya Vedantasarasya Vedanta Prakaranatvat. Because this Vedantasara is a Prakarana Grantha of Vedanta, and the same topic is being elaborated over here. Tadiyaihi eva Anubandhaihi. Whatever is the Anubandha of Vedanta, that alone should be applied over here. Tadiyaihi eva Anubandhaihi Tadvatta Siddhehe. When this Vedantasara is as though become one with Vedanta. there is sameness between Vedantasara and Vedanta. What is Vedanta? He just described, no? Previous verse. Upanishad Pramanam. Vedanto Nama Upanishad Pramanam. Now he's saying Vedantasara is Prakarana Grantha of Vedanta. So it has become one with it, or it has been composed in such a way that it is one with it. There is no difference between Vedanta and Vedantasara. Nathe Prutagalochaniya means Anubandha Chatushtaya should not be considered as something different for Vedantasara. Now, what is Prakaranam that we had discussed in Tattva Bodha also? If you remember, the example we had seen was of minestrone soup. Anubandha Chatushtaya also we saw. And what is Prakarana Grantha also we saw. The verse which is given for Prakarana Grantha is Shastra Ekadesha Sambadham. Shastra Ekadesha Sambadham Shastra Karyantare Sthitam. Means in this entire voluminous Shastra, Prakarana Grantha is the one which will elaborate on a portion of that Shastra. There might be several topics in Shastra. But Vedantasara or any Prakarana Grantha will elaborate on a particular portion. I mean, there will be many topics which will not be elaborated over here. So much so that Mandukya Upanishad is called as Prakarana. Karikas are also called as Prakarana. In particular, Karikas, they are called as Prakarana because they elaborate only a particular portion of Shastra. Okay, all topics are not elaborated. For example, if somebody says, how should I develop devotion to Bhagavan? What is Upasana method? Vedantasara will not discuss that. For that, we have to go into other places, study Bhagavad Gita. Certain chapters will elaborate that. So, Prakarana means that in a particular voluminous text, a portion is focused upon. Like if somebody asks, in Ramayana, which Prakarana is going on? So we will say, in Ramayana class, Dhanush Bhanga Prakaranam is going on. Means Bhagavan Rama has come and he is going to break that bow. Now we should not say Ramayana Prakaranam is going on. We know that Ramayana is the text. But in that, what specific part are you focusing on? So that becomes Prakaranam. Okay. So here, Acharya is saying that Vedantasara is Prakarana of Vedanta. So that word Prakarana, that shloka we saw, Shastra Ekadesha Sambadham, Shastra Karyantare Sthitam, Ahuhu Prakaranam Nama, Grantha Bhedo Vipaschita. This type of composition is called as Prakaranam by those people who know the varieties of Granthas. Grantha Bheda means that there are different types of Grantha. Prakaranam is one of them. There are Sutra Granthas are there. There are Vartikas. So there is a specific definition for what is the difference between a Vartika, what is the difference between Sutra, and what is Prakarana. So those people who know this difference, they composed this verse, and that is how they look at Prakarana Grantha. Okay. Tadiyehi eva anubandaihi tadvatta siddhehi. So two reasons he is giving why we should not consider separate Anubandha Chatushtaya for Vedantasara. So one is because it is Prakarana, and second is Tadvatta Siddhehi. It has been composed in such a way that it is one with Vedanta. You don't have to separately do anything. Now somebody might say, I don't know what is Anubandha of Vedanta only. You said you don't have to separately elaborate Anubandha of Vedantasara. Why? Because it is same as that of Vedanta. But, oh teacher, can you please tell me what is Anubandha of Vedanta? Says that, that I can tell. Now you see his beauty in writing. He is elaborating Anubandha Chatushtaya, but he says Anubandha Chatushtaya is of Vedanta. And you don't have to separately write for Vedantasara. If you are interested in knowing what is Anubandha of Vedanta, that I will explain now. But first he says, what are the 4 words, what are the 4 things in Anubandha that we should know? Tatra Anubandho Nama Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojanani. Okay, these 4 things are called as Anubandha. Adhikari means who is the one who will benefit the most. Vishaya, what is the subject matter. Sambandha means what is the relationship between this particular text or whatever that entity is and the main topic, whatever I am interested in. Okay, what is the relationship? And prayojana is what will I get after studying this text. Anubandha, if you want a technical definition for it, the technical definition is that knowledge which prompts us into enthusiastically pursuing something. Knowledge of those 4 things which prompts us into enthusiastically pursuing something, that thing is called as Anubandha. Bandha means to bind us, to bind us to our goal. And what will help us in that binding is knowledge of these 4 things. Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha, Prayojana. And if we jump into something without thinking about these 4 things, Bhagwan Krishna says that is tamasic pravrutti. Directly going into something without thinking about Anubandha. Anubandham kshayam himsam. 18th chapter, Bhagwan says, tamasic pravrutti is such that this person jumps into some work without thinking about who is the fit person for that work. What is the main topic, of that particular thing? Is that going to give me what I'm looking for? Sambandha he doesn't understand. And prayojanam might be something else, not what I'm looking for. But one who does this pravrutti, one who goes into action by thinking of all these 4 things, that is called as Shuddha pravrutti or Sattvic pravrutti. Okay. So in Sanskrit, if you want to write the definition, it is Jnanam yat pravartakam, Jnanam yat pravartakam, tad jnanam anubandham. Tad jnanam anubandham. What is anubandha? Knowledge. It is that knowledge which prompts us into action. Jnanam yat pravartakam. So pravartakam is not blindly following some action, but that particular thing I am enthusiastically going to pursue now. It is just like when we might have bought a house or when we were house hunting. Any board which is there, which says for sale, or they have the name, right, of the real estate contact person, everybody doesn't get attracted by that board. But if somebody has Anubandha clear, then that board, there is a lot of, enthusiastic pursual of that particular thing. Same Anubandha only we are using. First, Adhikari you have to determine. For whom is that thing? This person who is desirous for buying a house. If that Adhikari doesn't match my Adhikaritva, then I will not even go near that thing. I'm not interested in buying a house. Why should I go to that place? Or why should I go after that board? Adhikari. Vishaya, it is going to talk about how many bedrooms are there inside, what is the square feet of that house. So that is Vishaya, which is there. Sambandha, the relationship is this particular board will help me get this house. Means if I go and call over there, now you see, knowledge of everything will make me go towards that thing. Jnanam yat pravartakam. So that number which is there, if I call, they will guide me, towards getting this house. Somebody who is very new to the city and doesn't know this sambandha, that I have to actually call and this person will help me get this house, that person will not go towards that board. And the last is this particular person or this particular advertisement will help me buy this house for myself. Prayojanam is that. So these four things we see in the day-to-day world also, but most importantly in Vedanta. Who is Adhikari? Adhikari is the one who has purified the mind, has gotten Vairagya. And he is seeking something higher in life. He says, not that I have some kind of distaste for the things around me, but I have understood that these things cannot be the goal of life. That person is Adhikari. And if this desire comes in the heart, then he will search for the appropriate place for satsang. That satsang where his desire is quenched. Nature of Atma is elaborated. That Vishaya he will search and find. And his sambandha has become very clear. That this particular text, this particular Vedantic knowledge is going to reveal my own true nature. Then he doesn't hesitate to do satsang at any time of the day. You see, early morning, 5 o'clock, 6:30 class is there, he will come. Late night class is there, still will come. In between, some camp or retreat is there, I have to let go of my home comfort and go there and stay, he will still go. And if I have to drive long distance, travel a lot of distance, he will still travel. Why? Because sambandha has become clear. Puja Gurudev's yajna also, so many people would come and they would come straight from work, directly from work, attend the session, and then he would give some advice to all of them on the way. In particular, if he was giving discourses in Bombay, all of them would travel by local train. After the discourse, to go home, they have to take the local train. So Gurudev would tell them, whatever you have heard, reflect on this while you are on the train ride. Don't unnecessarily talk, reflect on this teaching. In the US, he would say, all of you are spending so much time driving, although now it is different. But when Kaivalya Upanishad talk, he says, use that time efficiently. Put some CD or put some same talk, because that talk was on Kaivalya Upanishad. He said, don't tell me how am I going to internalize this teaching. You will internalize it by reflecting on it more and more. And that is how that sambandha was created. That we started feeling this knowledge is for us, not some intellectual knowledge. And prayojanam is dukkha nivritti should happen from our life. Prayojanam is not studying many texts. Prayojanam is being able to abide in our own true nature as Ananda Swarupa Atma. These four things, more we reflect upon it, more we will be committed to Vedanta. Okay. If we don't feel as motivated or as inspired as Vedanta, then we have to come back and again reflect on Anubandha Chatushtaya. If my adhikaritva is low, but if my Vishaya is very clear, Sambandha is clear, Prayojanam is clear, then I can increase my adhikaritva. Just like that house, right? If my adhikaritva is not there right now to buy that house, then I can do some other arrangements so that I can become adhikari for buying that house. Vedanta is also the same, increasing adhikara. If Sambandha is not clear, then our importance for Shravanam will not be very strong. Importance for Mananam will not be very strong. That Vedanta Vakya, clarity of these Vakyas, they alone are going to reveal my true nature. Okay, if that Sambandha becomes clear, then we will put forth more effort to understand every word. We will stay with every word and start reflecting on that. And then creating that prama, creating that knowledge will become a very sincere pursuit of this sadhaka. Okay, so this is about Anubandha. And then the previous one was just elaborating that separate Anubandha need not be described. So the style of this text is such, whatever word the teacher uses, that word will be elaborated. So previously you saw the word Vedanta was used. Vedanto nama Upanishad Pramana. So now what is Vedanta? That he will describe. Right? I mean, this was a description only. What was the precursor to that? Guru Naradhya Vedanta Saram Vakshe Yathamati. I am going to compose Vedanta Sara. So the word Vedanta came in Mangalacharanam. So immediately he described what is Vedanta. Vedanto Nama Upanishad Pramanam, and so on. And then Anubandha Chatushtaya came. So it was described, these are the four aspects of Anubandha Chatushtaya: Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha, and Prayojana. So now every word he is going to elaborate. What does Adhikari mean? What does Vishaya mean? What does Sambandha mean? And Prayojanam mean? So that is the whole style of Vedantasara. Very nice way to reflect. Okay, so let us see the 6th verse now. Adhikaritu Vidhivat Adhita Veda Vedangatvena Apatatah Adhigata Akhila Vedarthah Asmin Janmani Janmantareva Kamya Nishidha Varjana Purassaram Nityanaimittika Prayaschitta Upasana Anushthanena Nirgata Nikhila Kalmashataya Nitanta Nirmala Swantah Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannah Pramata. I know that our book doesn't have word-to-word meaning, so I chanted it slowly so that those who want to mark sandhis, want to see where the word splits, you can do that. And if you have any questions, we can discuss in Sanskritam class. Okay, because directly you will not have word-to-word meaning of these things. But our way of studying will be We'll try to appreciate every word. That is how Prama will take place. Okay. So this main sentence is, who is Adhikari? This is Adhikari means Pramata. The one who is going to study Vedanta, one who is going to gain this knowledge, one who is going to gain this Prama, that person is called as Adhikari. What are the other indicators? How did he become this Pramata? How did this desire for knowledge come in his heart? So it was not a immediate process or immediate, incident. It was a long process. Several things happened. He ended up, doing many things. And then finally, the end goal of that was he became Pramata. So what all things he went through, that journey is given in this verse. Okay, look at the first line. Adhikari tu vidivat adhita veda vedangatvena apatatah. So apatatah we can actually take with the next part. You can just take Adhikari tu vidivat adhita veda vedangatvena. He has gone to a teacher already and studied Veda and Vedanga. When you read these, descriptions, you wonder, my name doesn't even come close to this. Because I never went to study Veda, I did not study Vedanga. Am I Adhikari or not? We'll come to that. Let us just appreciate what Sadananji is pointing out as Adhikari. Adhikari tu vidivat adhita Veda Vedangatven. Vidivat adhita means he has lived in a Gurukula and learned from a teacher. Not Vedanta yet. This we are talking about student of Vedanta. Meaning this might be referring to the good old days when the child would go to Gurukula and then learn under a guru. So they were taught Vedas, means Veda Parayanam was taught, Vedic chanting was taught, and Vedangas were taught. Anga means limbs. Angi means the one who has those limbs. Okay, like my hand is Anga. And this whole body is Angi. If all my Angas are healthy, it helps Angi. Angi is healthy if all our Angas are healthy. So knowledge of Vedanta, knowledge of Vedanga, the limbs of Veda, they would help in understanding Veda. Okay, just like body is Angi, Vedas are Angi. And hands, legs, all of them are Anga. So there are few branches of knowledge called as Vedanga. If we know them, then our understanding of Veda becomes easier. So Adhikari is the one who has studied Veda. In general, at least he is familiar with the meaning, the literal meaning of Veda mantras, and in particular, Vedic chanting is studied. And he has also studied Vedanga. We won't go into details of Vedanga, but at least the names we should be familiar with. First, Vedanga, the limb which will help us understand Veda, is called as Shiksha. Okay. Shiksha means it is phonetics. All the swaras which are there, Udatta, Anudatta, and Swarita. Anudatta means where it goes down. Udatta means the in-between swara, and Swarita means the top one. Like how we chant Sahana Vavatu, right? So that also has swaras. Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu. So it's Sa and Now. So that knowledge of those swaras is called as one part of Vedanga, Shiksha. And there are elaborate rules about how these swaras are put, how they are marked. They are not randomly marked. There are rules which are there, which determine how those swaras are marked. Then comes Kalpa, second one. So there are 6 Vedangas. The first one is Shiksha, phonetics. Second one is Kalpa. Kalpa means that body of knowledge which helps us in understanding how to do rituals. Like whenever some yajna, homa has to be done, how the bricks should be arranged, what are the mantras to be chanted. All of that elaboration is given in Sutra Granthas. We might not study all of them, but at least we should appreciate. There are these detailed rituals and science behind every ritual. Okay, so they are captured under Sutra Granthas. Some of the names are Smarta Sutra, Shrauta Sutra, Shalba Sutra. Some other are Dharma Sutra and Gruhya Sutra. Gruhya, Shalba, Dharma, Shrauta, Smarta. You don't even have to write down. Just listen to them. Just to appreciate that whenever we see any ritual, if it is done in the systematic way, the source of how this is done in that way is given in those Sutra Granthas. If you have listened to Kathopanishad, there is one portion where Yamacharya tells Nachiketa how to lay out the bricks for that Nachiketa Yajna. Ya Ishtaka, Yava Purva Tirangva, something like that, one mantra is there. So how to Ishtika means how to lay out those bricks. But he doesn't elaborate there because that is not the topic of Vedanta. It has already been covered in Vedanga, that is these Kalpa Sutras. And if they do it very systematically, it's a great joy to watch. When we had our Sandeepany 50th year celebration, many priests had come from Sringeri, Matha, and they did a very elaborate ritual. And everything, if you went and asked the priest, they would explain why we are doing this. So there was one homa called as Kalabhivruddhi Homa. Means by doing a ritual in the fire, they are increasing the kala in that devata. So they had a string tied from that homa kunda all the way up and then all the way to the vigraha and then tied there. It's just nice to appreciate that there is so much of depth. Third is Vyakaranam, third Vedanga. Now Vyakaranam itself is very elaborate. But whatever we can study so that Pada-Vakya Pramana becomes clear to us. Pada means every word of Upanishad, every word of Shastra. Vakya becomes easy to understand. If words are clear, Vakya we will understand. And Pramana we will be able to use. So our purpose of studying Vyakaranam is Pada, Vakya, Pramana. Okay, Upanishad words and other Prakarana Grantha words should become clear. And we should be able to appreciate the teaching. So that is third Vedanga, Vyakaranam. Sanskritam class, Tuesday evening. Everybody is welcome because you are studying one Vedanga over there. Fourth one is Nirukta. Nirukta means etymology. So there is one work composed called as Nighantu. It was composed by one Acharya. His name was Yaska Muni. He was a master. He was a rishi who, elaborated on etymology of words. And what happens is, if you go with the etymology, something new opens up with every word. And especially for Vedic words, they are very cryptic. So in one place, annam word will be used, but annam there doesn't refer to rice. Annam there refers to Maya. So unless we know the etymology of how that word is formed, what is the contextual meaning of that word, we will not be able to appreciate that word as much. We might end up with erroneous meaning also. But in simple words, nirukta helps in mananam. Okay, if you want to reflect upon a particular idea, a particular verse, if we are able to use etymology for opening up every word, then something new will open up there. One example we had seen was Vairagya. When we studied Tattva Bodha, we saw that. Now, Vairagya, we directly translate as dispassion. But you look at the etymology of Vairagya, then you will find something deeper. Vigata ragasya bhavaha viragaha. This is called as etymology. That where there is no coloring of something, and that coloring is not so powerful that it prompts us into doing something. That ability is called as Vairagya. Vigata ragasya bhavaha viragaha. You see, that is more practical definition than saying dispassion. If you say dispassion, it might look like a very theoretical thing, which is not opening up the meaning as much. But if you say Ranjanat Ragaha, whatever experience we have in the world, it leaves an impression. Ability to not have such strong impressions, in spite of having interaction, that ability is called as Vairagya. Example we had seen was like garlic. Okay. If you touch garlic, it will leave its fragrance behind, smell behind. But if you do it with some other thing, orange for example, if you peel, after that it is gone. It is not as strong as that garlic smell. So our interactions in the world should be like that, not having too much of impressions left behind. So this is called as nirukta, being able to open up words. Okay. Fifth one is called as chandas. Chandas means meters. Like Gayatri mantra, it is Gayatri chanda. So there are several different meters in which Veda mantras are composed. The deeper meaning of chandas is all Veda mantras have devatas hidden in them. If somebody does Parayanam of that mantra in that same tune, in that same laya, then that devata manifests for them. Okay, that is why chanda word is used. Chanda means to cover. Chanda means to cover. We say in that chanda of that mantra, devata shakti is hidden. So chant it in that same chanda, in that same swara and everything, then that devata will become manifest. That is why we say mantras like Gayatri mantra should be chanted in the same swara, preferably not sung. Okay. Why? Because chanda is not maintained, swara is not maintained. And if it is done, Purascharana is done with that kind of sincerity, devata darshan can happen. Somebody like Madhusudana Saraswati ji had darshan of Gayatri Devi. Had darshan of Bhagwan Krishna, Gayatri Devi was Vidyaranya Swamiji. But what he says when Gayatri Devi appears is very beautiful. He says, "Oh Mother, I am indeed blessed that you have given me darshan. But whatever I could have asked for to you, with your grace, all that desire has gone now." Vidyaranya Swamiji says to Gayatri Devi when she appears, "I started with Sakama Bhava maybe, But the power of this upasana was such, and your grace was such, that now whatever you can give me, that thing is not my desire right now. Okay, means I've become mumukshu. Please bless me with that knowledge. The main point is chandas. So every mantra will have a chandas. In that, one should try to chant. Last one is Jyotisha. Jyotisha means astrology. So we should remember, astrology is a science and it is a Vedanga. Okay, it is not superstition. Only thing about Jyotish is, it can only tell us, it cannot create something new. Okay, through the position of the planets, there is a systematic way to calculate few things. So that ability to predict is called as Jyotish Shastra. The best example is weather report. Weather report is not going to stop the rain. It will just tell me that it is going to rain at 1 p.m. today. I don't know whether it's going to rain, but let us say it says 1 p.m. it is going to rain. What can I do? I can open my umbrella or I can carry my umbrella with me. But if the meteorological department says we are going to stop the rain, then we should be doubtful. Are they promising the real thing or something else? So Jyotish Shastra is that which will only forecast things. But how come they are able to forecast based on planets? So Paramacharya ji, Mahaparivar, he has written a very beautiful article on this astrology. So there he says that everything in this creation is interconnected. Okay, you pluck a leaf over here, the connection of that is something much greater than what we know. Okay. And he says the best way of tracking this interconnectedness is by tracking movement of planets. So that is why Jyotish Shastra relies on that. And if we have that Shraddha, we can derive strength from this Shastra. Okay, so that is Jyotish Shastra at a very high level. But over here, what it means is, whenever any auspicious, thing has to be performed, knowing what is the right time to do it. Right? Because the Panchanga doesn't work based on our, the English calendar. Means after the first, second only has to come. And second will start at 12 a.m. only. The second date, it will start at 12 a.m. only. So Panchanga doesn't work in that way. Dvitiya can start at 11 o'clock. Sometimes it can start at 2 o'clock. So knowing how these time work and what is the right time to do something and what is not the right time to do something. Whenever it comes to transaction, there desha becomes important, kala becomes important. In vyavahara, desha also has to play a role, kala also plays a role. Of course, our effort also plays a role. Like if somebody is starting a business, they will put forth, if they are sadhakas and have shraddha in Shastra, they will consult an astrologer, they will consult a panditji and say, which is a good day to inaugurate my shop. So one should not call that as superstition. Okay, they have their own shraddha and that shraddha is making them stronger. So why put it down? And whenever it comes to vyavahara, desha also matters, kala also matters. When it comes to Brahma Vidya, it is beyond desha kala. Okay, so we should not worry too much about which is a good day to start Vedanta study. You say you start whenever you want. Jab jage tabi savera. Whenever you wake up, that is the morning for that sadhaka. That alone is the dawn. Arunodaya has happened in that sadhaka's life. So one should not worry too much about that. So what did we see now? Just that one word, Vidivat Adhita Veda Vedangatvena. So we saw that Veda primarily means study of mantras, chanting Vedas, and so on. And Vedanga means these 6 things: Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotisha. Now this he has studied by going to Gurukula and by becoming a very dear student of his Guru. Vidivat means that, Ante Vasi Shishya he has become, lived a very disciplined life. Because of this reason alone, Uddalaka Muni in 6th chapter of Chandogya Upanishad decided to teach Shvetaketu. All of you who have attended Chandogya, you would remember what was the initial part of Chandogya. Shvetaketu comes from his Gurukula, but he is very arrogant. He says, I can answer all questions. You ask me whatever you want. Why should I bow down to anybody anymore? But in spite of that shortcoming, Uddalaka Muni still teaches Shvetaketu. Why? Because he was Vidivat Adhita Veda Vedangatvena. Meaning what? If somebody has gone to Gurukula and studied these Vedangas, they will get a lot of tapasya naturally. Or they would have done a lot of tapasya naturally. That itself is one qualification. Not easy, to study each one of them. You say, yes, I come to your Sanskritam class, not easy. But others are also there. Like Chandas, if you want to study, not easy. If somebody has studied Vedanga, that means they have gotten those abilities. For us, we might not be masters of all these things. But first is we should have reverence for them. Okay? And whatever qualities they will teach, those qualities, if they come in us, then we can call ourselves as Adhikari of Upanishad. Okay? Main quality is tapasya. To study anything, any of these things, you have to keep your mind on that thing. Right? So that we can see. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. There was a question submitted last time. We keep using the word Vedanta Siddhanta, and this Siddhanta word comes in several places. What is the meaning of the word Siddhanta? Okay, what do we mean by word Siddhanta? Can you give an example for Siddhanta? So these are all technical words. If we appreciate the technical meaning of it, we will get a lot of depth in that word. The word Siddhanta has come in several places. It is not only Vedanta Siddhanta. We use Siddhanta for karma also. We say this is Karma Siddhanta. With regards to Punarjanma, we say this is Punarjanma Siddhanta. There is a text written in Sanskritam on grammar called as Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. So Siddhanta word comes there also. So what is Siddhanta? Siddhanta means that conclusion which has been arrived by thorough thinking. No opposition is left unanswered. No opposing view is left unanswered. And it is not an opinion of one person. Right? Karma Siddhanta is not a person's opinion. It's an intellectual conviction which has been arrived after thorough thinking and by addressing all other questions that might be asked for your point of view. So that conclusion is called as Siddhanta. Vadi prativadibhyam nirnitah arthah Siddhantah. Okay. Vadi and prativadi. All different opposing views are all considered. They don't hesitate or run away from questions. After having resolved all those doubts, the conclusion which is arrived at, that conclusion is called as Siddhanta. So about karma, several questions are raised in our Shastras only. And all of them are resolved. After that, what conclusion has come, that is called as Karma Siddhanta. Okay. So if somebody says, I don't believe in Karma Siddhanta, then the question would be, what part of Karma Siddhanta is bothering? What part do you not agree with? And so on. So same thing with Vedanta also. When we say Vedanta Siddhanta, means after thorough analysis of all Veda mantras, the final conclusion which is arrived at, that is called as Vedanta Siddhanta. And one is most welcome to ask any question. You come and question anything of Vedanta, but question with reverence. Sometimes what happens is, we have a point which is stuck in our mind, and with that lens alone, we will try to question it. But a sadhaka's way of questioning is, in order to learn the tatparya, in order to learn what import is there in that text. And if my convictions are proven wrong, I will not hesitate to take the new understanding. This is how they did Shastrartha. You see, between Mandana Mishra ji and Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, this was the clause. They said, I have one opinion, I have one Siddhanta, you have another Siddhanta. And let us put everything on the table. And if I am proven wrong, I will not hesitate to take your Siddhanta. I will not hesitate to bow down and surrender to your Siddhanta. That is my honesty, intellectual honesty. So that is what Siddhanta means. Okay, Siddha Anta. If we have Shraddha and we ourselves don't have the ability to do all that analysis, we are still okay. Right? That is why it becomes more important, or it becomes most important, in whom we are having that Shraddha. You say, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has said this, he would have already thought about everything. So our role is just to do what he is saying. And if I myself want to inquire, then most welcome. Everything is there on the table. But don't dismiss anything without inquiring. Right? What is nature of God? You say, I don't believe in God. How did you come to that conclusion? Either you have analyzed all definitions of Bhagavan, what is said in Shastra that you have analyzed, and then you have determined that there is some shortcoming in what they have said. That is why I don't believe. If that is the case, well and good. But if I say, I have not studied what is said in Shastra, and I don't have Shraddha also in what Acharyas are saying, but at the same time, I don't believe in Bhagavan. See, that would be not the right thing to do. Right? Siddhanta means that everything is very thoroughly laid out. Most welcome to come and discuss any topic. That is the word Siddhanta. Okay. Can Gayatri mantra be recited in the mind as Japa? Of course, it can be recited in the mind. Manasa Japa, it is called. Upadeshasara, we saw that, right? Uttamastavad Chittajam Japaha. Dhyanam Uttamam. But it has to be recited in those swaras only. Okay, Hari Om. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.